Converting VHS tapes to digital seems like it should be simple, but it can be a bit of work. There are some popular hardware and software options out there to do this, or you can put together a more professional conversion setup for digitizing all sorts of old media. We'll look at all that in upcoming videos, but no matter what capture and conversion process you choose, it will all hinge on having a good machine to play back the tapes correctly. Quality VCRs are getting harder to find these days. There are tons to choose from depending on where you look, but getting one that has been properly cleaned and serviced just doesn't happen for reasonable money either, so you're probably going to need to do that part yourself. Even clean-looking machines can be filthy inside, and that's where your valuable tapes are going. We've picked up a mid-range Sony SLV-761HF. This one appears to be in great shape. It includes the big remote, and it's a 4-head hi-fi model with auto tracking, auto head cleaner, and some semi-pro transport controls. This one's in okay shape, but it looks like the eBay seller might have gotten this one from the thrift store because there's some residue from old stickers on the front. And these date back to about 1996, so it's probably pretty funky inside unless somebody's actually cleaned it. They sure didn't clean the remote, and it doesn't look like the original owner ever cleaned it, honestly. This is only the VCR remote too, remember, which would have probably seen a lot less use than a typical TV remote of the same age, especially for a household that would have owned a VCR of this quality. You probably would have had a fancy TV remote to go with your fancy TV. And this one is still caked full of crumbs and popcorn dust and oils from people's hands and all sorts of other junk. So we're going to tackle this one first. We'll clean it up and make sure it can last, hopefully, another 30 years. The main tools for this will be simple foam swabs, and I like to use a 99% isopropyl, but you can definitely use 91% if that's what you've got. A quick wipe down with a damp cloth gets most of the surface dirt off, but there will probably be plenty more inside to deal with, so we just want to get the crumbs from falling all over our desk here. Our first real step is going to be opening the remote all the way, and it's not uncommon for there to be only one screw in these, and then the rest of the shell is held together with like pressure fit clips. And you need to proceed pretty carefully here and use a soft prying tool that was designed to do this so you can pop it open fully without breaking any of those tabs. You get the feel for it after you've done it a little while, but it's definitely not something you want to rush into, or you could end up breaking the remote and needing to glue it back together, which we definitely want to avoid. On this one, the back shell and battery compartment are all one piece, yet the battery contacts are soldered to the board connected to the other half of the shell. So you'll want to be careful when you separate two halves of any remote like this so that you can disconnect any linking wires, ribbon cables, or in this case, thread those springs through the opening correctly instead of accidentally ripping them off of their traces. And on this remote, we have a big mechanical jog wheel that I really like, and we've got to be careful dealing with that. That's a 3-piece system that's clipped together, and you'll see how that works here in just a moment. Before disassembling further, I'll give the PCB and components a wipe down with isopropyl, obviously to remove any dirt, but doing it now also gives you a really good chance to inspect for any damaged components or any other issues that might need your attention later on in the repair or cleaning process. It's important to note that while isopropyl is what we want to use to clean the electronics and PCB, using it on plastics, the logos, or any screen printing on your items is often not a very good idea. Sony's remotes typically are not affected in my experience, and I test on a small area first, but there's a very good chance it could remove all of the printing on your remote or even damage or dry out the plastics. If you think that's going to be the case with your remote, a mild detergent and warm water should be used instead to clean any of the plastic parts or the housing. To remove the jog wheel, first we take the 2 screws out of the rear clip, then we need to turn it over and gently get under the center button and ease it off. Under that is kind of an intermediate clip that can stay on for now, and you could possibly just do this from the outer ring first and get all 3 parts to come off together, but taking the center button out first seemed a little easier to me and a little less risky. What we get underneath is an Alps rotary encoder, and that has a springy jog wheel action in both directions. And then there's just two simple tack switches for play and stop. And a whole bunch of gunk and other like crumbs has collected in this area here, so we'll go ahead and get that cleaned out for sure. You can really use anything you have to get into the tightest corners and free up any debris you find. Sometimes a stiff bristle paintbrush can be a great tool, but you can also use toothpicks to wrap a cloth around, or even stuff like a safety pin for the really tight little nooks and crannies. You'll be amazed probably how much stuff keeps coming out of remotes like this, and gaming controllers are like an order of magnitude worse. For the rubber keypad membrane, I just took it under a faucet and used hand soap to gently wash it clean. You rinse it really well and then let it sit out overnight to dry on a paper towel, and it'll come out good as new. It's really surprising. On this one, because of its age, I also used a little squirt of electronics cleaner on a few of the components inside, along with one of those foam swabs to kind of agitate any corrosion that might have been building up over the years. There didn't seem to be any, but the little two-way switch for choosing to control the TV or VTR was a bit stiff and definitely benefited from being worked loose. With everything cleaned and lubricated, reassembly is pretty simple and very rewarding, especially if you take your time to do it right. It's amazing how much newer a remote can look without all of the finger grease and dirt caked between the gaps and buttons. Testing it once it's back together shows everything works, and especially the transport controls. Those are really smooth and responsive now, so I'm very happy about that. With this remote out of the way, we can dive into cleaning the player next. And in the next episode in this series, we'll give this deck a proper service, including cleaning out the whole machine, as well as cleaning the audio and video heads properly. So you'll get to see that procedure being done and get an up-close look at all the common parts that make up a VCR, or as Sony prefers to call them, VTR. We'll also use this really cool 1980s electronics vacuum that we just got in new in the box off eBay from DataVac, and that might get its own video in the series too, because it's a really cool piece of history that they're still selling new today in a current model. But that's all for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and definitely join the channel here on YouTube for early access to future videos, as well as members-only content if you like this type of stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.